How do we best honor someone for a lifetime dedicated to the pursuit of excellence? How do we best recognize a journalist who's done their work with unfailing integrity, commitment to diversity, and a legacy of seeking social justice for those communities that have traditionally been underserved? How do we honor a person who has spent decades challenging established norms and breaking barriers for others? How do we honor an icon? We start by inviting another icon to the stage. To honor the 2023 CJF Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Haroon Siddiqui, please welcome former journalist and former Governor General of Canada, the Right Honourable Adrienne Clarkson.
Thank you so much, Farah, and thank you, everybody, all my former colleagues and ones that weren't born when I started 55 years ago. I'm so honored to present the Canadian Journalism Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award to Haroon Siddiqui. But I do want all of you fellow journalists in this room to know that his country recognized him with the Order of Canada 21 years ago, and I gave it to him as Governor General. I'm so glad as a Canadian, and really relieved as one of your fellow journalists, that the professional body to which he has brought such honor has now followed suit. In May of 2001, Haroon Siddiqui, on becoming a member of the Order of Canada, was described in his citation as a hugely respected journalist, an advocate for fairness and equality of opportunity, challenging the stereotypical thinking about minorities through his various newspaper articles and public appearances. Having called for active involvement of new Canadians in mainstream society, he has encouraged dialogue and understanding. Now, more than 20 years on, I can say that I'm thrilled that Haroon Siddiqui immigrated to Brandon, Manitoba from Hyderabad to work at the legendary Brandon Sun, which I knew when I was a journalist. He has enriched our life immeasurably in this country. I think if he didn't exist, we who care about journalism as a craft and as a source of enlightening information would have had to invent him. For decades, he's been a trailblazer, often a lone voice, and a Muslim one at that, letting us know from a profoundly humanistic background and deeply moral stance what it means to speak from the point of view of an immigrant and of a religious minority not well understood in Canada. But he has always understood, because this is a man of deep faith, and in the Quran, it is written that God could have created us all alike, but he did not, in order that we might meet the challenge of getting on with one another. That does not appear in any other holy book. I think that he has always understood what human rights are and has stood up for them, and has been able to be courageous and staunch in his stands against evil because of the deep background of his rich culture and his faith. And his coming to Canada was a gift to us as Canadians. And most important for this room and these people in it tonight, he is the embodiment of excellent journalism, balanced, informed, and passionate. As a stylist, he doesn't have an equal, and that's getting to be rarer and rarer. This award is so long overdue to Haroon Siddiqui, who, as you will see now, has always been and continues to be unique.
As a venerated columnist and national editor at Toronto Star, Haroon Siddiqui spent half a century promoting equal dignity for all. Through his evocative writing, unshakable compassion, and steadfast integrity, making equality and pluralism a part of our national conversation, and reminding us all of the humanity behind the headlines.
The September 11 terror attacks took place when I was in my second year, and like many Canadians, I turned to Canadian media outlets for both answers and to make sense of it all, only to find out that just in a matter of a few days, the Muslim community had become the new enemy. We were now deemed suspicious, seen as the other. But amidst the chatter, Haroon's voice stood out. He stood bravely in the face of criticism, hate, and fear to give voice to the Muslim community. He spoke about us, but he also spoke to us, reminding us in every column of our rights and our rightful place in this country.
Known for depicting his subjects with fairness and respect, he set a new standard for representation in journalism.
Canadian Muslims know firsthand the importance of making space for diverse voices in journalism and Canadian society. We have often been misrepresented in the media, and it is critical to have journalists like Haroon Siddiqui who understand our community's complexity and diversity. Haroon has challenged stereotypes and broken down barriers.
Beginning his Canadian journalism career at a time when diversity in the press was uncommon, Haroon used his platform to confront racism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia in our society, paving the way for a new generation of journalists to follow in his footsteps.
He has always spoken the truth, championed for the underdog, and in the face of so many challenges, his work has always been reliable. The readers always knew when reading his column that his piece was fair, accurate, and fact-based, and even if you didn't agree with it. But perhaps most importantly, Haroon managed to achieve undeniable success in an industry where few looked like him, without ever compromising on his own principles and standards. And that has always deeply inspired me and many other young journalists of color.
This exceptional work has earned him numerous accolades, including the Order of Canada, our highest civilian honor. Whether he was reporting on elections, wars, or social movements, he brought underrepresented perspectives to some of the biggest stories and events of our lifetimes. A legacy that's still felt in the nation's newsrooms to this day.
He's made us think of how we approach our reporting, our newspaper, our website, and so on. Are we providing fair coverage, equal coverage for people, for all people in Canada? You know, are we treating people with dignity and respect, regardless of their backgrounds?
Haroon's unwavering commitment to equal dignity for all has helped reshape how Canadians see themselves, and in turn, how the world sees us.
Congratulations, Haroon, on receiving the Canadian Journalism Foundation Award. It is well deserved.
Haroon, congratulations.
Keep speaking truth to power, Haroon, and keep speaking truth to the public.
Please welcome Haroon Siddiqui.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're very, very kind. Adrian especially, you've been very kind, as always. I want to thank also Noor Javed, whom you saw in that video. My God, all these lights. Is it possible to lower these lights and I can see some people in front, or is nobody listening? Anyway, I want to thank Noor Javed who is an ace reporter at the Toronto Star, who I'm told put forward this nomination. And thanks to those who backed the nomination and the people who spoke in the video, especially my colleagues, Bob Hepburn, Ian Urquhart, Ratna Umidwar, who is now a senator. This award obviously belongs to many people. First, it belongs to my dear departed parents in India, Hafiz Muhammad Musa and Hafiza Amtul Basir, who provided my siblings and I a glamorously and gloriously happy childhood, and who were indulgent of my many early failures. Failed at pre-medicine, failed at pre-engineering, failed at professional cricket, meandered my way through a science degree, flirted with English literature before settling on a graduate program in journalism. My father's surprise response was, "Have you asked TGV?" TGV being T.G. Vaidyanathan, my English professor and dear mentor. I told Abba, my father, that TGV had already approved, to which he said, "If it's fine by TGV, it's fine by me." The import and relevance of that simple sentence is the following. Parent and teacher occupy very high places in the pantheon of the millennium-old multicultural India. My father, an Orthodox conservative Muslim, TGV, a practicing Brahmin with a sacred thread across his chest. These two disparate individuals, in differing to each other, were more secular, more liberal than many of our secularists and liberals today. Next, this award belongs to Roland Michener, who before being Governor General was High Commissioner to India, and suggested casually to a cub reporter in Mumbai, "Young men like you should go to Canada." To which I responded with youthful arrogance, "Why would anyone want to go to Canada? It's so bloody cold." Next, the award belongs to Clark Davey, the legendary managing editor of the Globe and Mail, who in 1967 in Toronto, not far from here, did not give me a job. But like a gruff old uncle suggested that I get some Canadian experience and that the best place to get it is the Brandon Sun in Manitoba, and that he would be happy to call them. My response was, "Why would anyone want to go to Manitoba? It's colder there than here, isn't it?" But in Brandon, Lou Whitehead, the owner-publisher, was a gem of a man who made me a Canadian journalist. The award next belongs to Ray Timson, managing editor of the mighty Toronto Star, who hired me and offered me endless opportunities. And it belongs to Beelan Hondrick and John Hondrick, especially John, who encouraged my mostly dissident writings and fended off my many, many critics. A long-standing tradition at the Star, which is still being maintained under new management and ownership, Jordan Beethoven. Thank you. Such institutional protection is less and less available to journalists today, as the media face unprecedented financial pressures. And that is happening at a time when independent, fearless journalism is most urgently needed. Next, the award belongs to my wife, Yasmin, and sons Fahad and Faisal, who were there at the Citadel in Quebec City when Adrian gave the Order of Canada, and their wives, Fatima and Elizabeth, each highly successful in their own right, who make for a happy family, which serves also as a great anchor intellectually and emotionally. Finally, this award really belongs to Canada, our home and native and adopted land that made my journey possible without me ever having to compromise my identity or my conscience. This enabling multicultural milieu is what makes Canada so unique in this world, and a role model to a troubled world where skin color and faith have become such debilitating fault lines of our age. Vive la Canada.
That was so beautiful, Haroon, and I've told you this in person, but you're one of the reasons I became a journalist, and it's because when I was young, my dad would cut out articles from the paper and every day bring them into my room and teach me about democracy and politics and the world and geopolitics, but the ones he was the proudest to bring in my room were by Haroon Siddiqui, because there was nobody who had a name like ours, a Muslim name, in the paper. And he was just beaming with pride. And when I saw that, I knew I could also potentially do that at some point. And it's because we saw your incredible journalism. And like you said, didn't compromise who you were, always knew we were going to get a fair story when we looked at your stories and your journalism. So thank you for breaking the barrier for so many people like me. Thank you.